In Morgan Housel's book, The Psychology of Money, he shares how he manages his money. I was quite surprised and it wasn't what I was expecting, so I thought others might be interested in it too. The book was published back in September 2020 and the info is found in Chapter 20, Confessions, The Psychology of My Own Money. Morgan says that the difference between what someone suggests you do and what they do themselves isn't always a bad thing. It just underscores that when dealing with complicated and emotional issues that affect you and your family, there is no one right answer. Morgan again highlights the importance of that sleep well at night factor. He says that there's only what works for you and your family, checking the boxes that you want checked in a way that leaves you comfortable and sleeping well at night. He reminds his readers that important financial decisions are not made in spreadsheets or in textbooks. They are made at the dinner table, and they are often not made with the intention of maximizing returns, but minimizing the chance of disappointing a spouse or child. He says that you have to find what works for you and then shares what works for him. Morgan's goal isn't to be rich, but to be independent. He says that chasing the highest returns or leveraging his assets to live the most luxurious life is of little interest to him, which he says is a game people play to impress their friends. He wants to wake up every day knowing that he and his family can do whatever they want on their own terms. He explains that achieving some level of independence does not rely on earning a doctor's income. It's mostly a matter of keeping your expectations in check and living below your means. Independence at any income level is driven by your savings rate. And past a certain level of income, your savings rate is driven by your ability to keep your lifestyle expectations from running away. He said that being able to wake up one morning and change what you're doing, like quit a job, on your own terms whenever you're ready, seems like the grandmother of all financial goals. Independence to me doesn't mean you'll stop working. It means you'll only do what you like with people you like at the times you want for as long as you want. After college, Morgan explains that he and his wife got what they considered a decent apartment, a decent car, decent clothes, and decent food. Comfortable, but nothing close to fancy. And despite more than a decade of rising incomes, they have kept that same level of lifestyle, which has continuously pushed their savings rate higher, and they are now living well below their means. Morgan states that, if there's a part of our household financial plan I'm proud of, it's that we got the goalposts of lifestyle desire to stop moving at a young age. He says that most of what they get pleasure from costs little, like going for walks, reading, and listening to podcasts. When they do these things, they don't feel like they're missing out. Morgan says that they are so far committed to the independence camp that what they've done makes little sense on paper, explaining that we own our house without a mortgage, which is the worst financial decision we've ever made, but the best money decision we've ever made, pointing out that mortgage interest rates were absurdly low when they bought their house. Any rational advisor would have recommended taking advantage of cheap money and investing extra savings into higher return assets like stocks. But his goal isn't to be coldly rational, just psychologically reasonable. Morgan writes that the independent feeling that I get from owning our house outright far exceeds the known financial gain that I'd get from leveraging our assets with a cheap mortgage. Eliminating the monthly payment feels better than maximizing the long-term value of our assets. It makes me feel independent. And of course, if you do enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up because it really does help to support my channel. And I particularly like the end part of this quote. I don't try to defend this decision to those pointing out its flaws, or those who would never do the same. On paper, it's defenseless, but it works for us. We like it. That's what matters. Good decisions aren't always rational. At some point, you have to choose between being happy or being right. He said that they also kept a higher percentage of their assets in cash, which is much higher than an advisor would recommend. It's about 20% of their assets outside the value of their home. Again, he says this is also close to indefensible on paper, but it works for them. Morgan says he does this because cash is the oxygen of independence. And more importantly, we never want to be forced to sell the stocks we own. We want the probability of facing a huge expense and needing to liquidate stocks to cover it to be as close to zero as possible. He said that without exception, there will come a time when you face a huge unexpected expense that you have not planned for. Morgan is saving for a world where curveballs are more common than we expect. And not being forced to sell stocks to cover an expense also means we are increasing the odds of letting the stocks we own compound for the longest period of time. And Charlie Munger put it well. The first rule of compounding is to never interrupt it unnecessarily. Morgan Housel started his career as a stock picker, owning mostly large companies like Berkshire Hathaway and Procter & Gamble, mixed with smaller stocks. Back in his 20s, at any given point, he held about 25 individual stocks. He wrote that he didn't know how he went as a stock picker and wasn't sure if he beat the market because he didn't keep a very good score. And he's now shifted his views, and now every stock he owns is a low-cost index fund. Maybe he needed ShareSite to keep track of his portfolio performance. ShareSite is a portfolio tracking tool that I use and love, and it also makes tax time super simple. There is a free plan if you have under 10 holdings, and I use this for many years. And if you do decide to sign up for a 12-month plan, using my link will save you 4 months off the purchase price of the annual premium plan. Morgan's views on investing are that every investor should pick a strategy that has the highest odds of successfully meeting their goals. And he thinks for most investors, dollar cost averaging into a low-cost index fund will provide the highest odds of long-term success. He says that doesn't mean index investing will always work, and it doesn't mean it's for everyone, and it doesn't mean active stock picking is doomed to fail. Beating the market should be hard. The odds of success should be low. If they weren't, everyone would do it. And if everyone did it, then there would be no opportunity. Over the years, Morgan has come around to the view that he'll have a high chance of meeting all of his family's financial goals if he consistently invests money into a low-cost index fund for decades, leaving that money alone to compound. Stating that if you can meet all of your goals without having to take the added risk that comes from trying to outperform the market, then what's the point of even trying? Pointing out that I can afford not to be the greatest investor in the world, but I can't afford to be a bad one. When I think of it that way, the choice to buy the index and hold on is a no-brainer for us. So basically, he invests his money from every paycheck into index funds, a combination of US and international stocks. There is no set goal, it's whatever is left over after what they spend. He and his wife max out their retirement accounts, and they contribute to their kids' 529 college savings plan. His investing strategy doesn't rely on picking the right sector or timing the next recession. It relies on a high savings rate, patience, and optimism that the global economy will create value over the next several decades. Effectively, all of his net worth is a paid-off home, a checking account with some cash, and some Vanguard index funds. I hope you found this video interesting. Don't forget to subscribe, and you can also find me on Instagram and Facebook.